This video is about the guess types operator. This operator changes the types of attributes. It does this by assessing the values it finds for each attribute that it's looking at to determine if that attribute could be numerical or nominal. This can be useful if, for example, you've imported some data as text when in fact you know it's actually a number. So we'll look at the types that are successfully guessed, the types that aren't, and also some of the number formatting parameters to the guess types operator. So we have a process as usual. I have arranged it in a view to make it a bit easy to see everything. So the process is here. It's very simple. The make data sub-process creates some data. Details about that don't really matter. That's passed to the guess types operator, where the operation is done, and there are two outputs. One is the example after the guess types operator has run, and one is the original. If I select guess types, we'll quickly go through these parameters. The attribute filter type, that's been covered elsewhere, but basically I'm setting that to all attributes. I'm not inverting the selection, nor actually do I have any special attributes. If I did, I would have to tick that, but I haven't in this case. I'm setting the decimal point character to just the decimal point dot, and the number grouping character to a comma. That isn't the default actually, but you'll see how that comes in shortly. If we run the process, let's look at the original data. So basically there are 5 examples in this example set. And the names of the attribute, they give a hint as to what the attribute type should be. But I've created all of these to be of type text. If you look at the data, you can see that in fact date, as its name implies, should be a date. Boolean ought to be a boolean. Well, string, that looks okay. This one is an integer because all of those are numbers and there's no decimal point. This has a decimal point, so therefore this should be numeric. This looks like it could be a number, but the last one has a S there. So this should not be numeric. This should be set to a text value or a nominal value. This one, this is a string, but it looks like a number, and the commas and the decimal point basically mean it is 9,099,099, whatever that is. And if I now look at the example set after the guess types, we can see that nothing much has changed. So if we look before and after, we see that before everything was text, but afterwards there's been some changes. So the first 3 here, date has been converted to a nominal, not a date, important point. Boolean has also been converted to nominal. Even though there are only 2 values, true and false, it still outputs a nominal. String, that's correct, that's a nominal. Integer, now that has actually correctly been turned into an integer, so it's basically detected that all of the values are integer values. Therefore it is perfectly correct and safe to turn the type to integer. Numeric, that has been set to real, simply because these are real numbers, 1 point something. Possible number, it has correctly said nominal for that because one of them, the last one if I recollect, had the value 1.s, so that isn't a valid number, nor is it a valid integer. The only possible thing it could be is a nominal, so it's correct there. The last one, number with thousands. Now because I've set the decimal point character and the number grouping characters to dot and comma respectively, the string, which was this value here, that's a string, but we interpret it as a number, and to tell the operator to interpret it as a number, we've used these parameters here, and sure enough, it's turned it to a real number actually because of the decimal point, and it's got the value right. So that's all very encouraging. So I'll simply leave the last part of the video with the statistics views before and the statistics view after. I'll toggle it backwards and forwards so you can get a sense as to what's going on.